Hi there everybody, it's Verity here from inkybutterfly.com. Thank you so much for joining me again for another card making video, and today I am featuring a brand new bundle from Stampin Up called Circle Sayings. So here we are, the photopolymer stamp set with all these sort of circular designs and sentiments and things, and this is a bundle with a brand new punch. This is a 2 3/8 of an inch, so this is the largest punch that I'm aware of that we've ever had. I think the previous one, I'm sure we had a 2 inch and maybe a 2 1/4, but this one's 2 3/8, so this one's a really nice big punch. Okay, so we are using that today along with some other products. So you'll see, so the larger punch is actually the white circle that I've got there. I'm actually going to cut my images out using the smaller punch, the 2 inch punch. That is one of our online exclusives at the moment, so you will pop along and see if that's in stock. It's one of those things that it will be in and out of stock. And then I've got a circle from the Stylish Shapes there. So the second largest one frames that 2 inch circle punch really beautifully with a little border there. So that's the combination of circles I've used there. And we are going to do, going to replicate this card. I'm just going to show you how I created this card in particular. Really like the seashells and the sort of waves as a nice sort of combination of images on this set. So I wanted to use those. Who doesn't like the seashore, eh? So we're going to replicate that and show you how I did that. So there's a bit of colouring and stuff, so it might be a bit longer a video, so feel free to speed it up a bit if you want to just sort of quickly whiz through the colouring elements of it. But we're just going to start cracking on with this. Okay, so the first thing to do is I'm just going to grab some scrap paper here. Well, it's an offcut, it's not a scrap paper, it's basic white cardstock, but it's an offcut. That's what I actually should have said. And I'm going to bring in that that sort of seaside kind of scene there, that sort of wave. And because we're using blends, I'm going to use the Memento ink to stamp that up. It's a bit larger than the pad, so I'm just going to go around in little tiny circles there and just get that stamped there, a bit away from the edge so that I've got room to punch it out, but not too high up that it won't reach. So that's that. And then while I am at it, I'm going to bring in the card layer, just while I've got this ink pad open basically, and bring in those seashells. And I'm just going to pop those in at a funny angle here. And the idea being there that we'll get to see those peering out. So we're going to make sort of like a U shape across the card like this. Okay, and then the circle is going to sort of sit in the middle. That's not quite straight, but it doesn't really matter. It's organic, right? So it's going to sit in there and sort of be framed by those seashells. That's the idea there. Okay, so that's the stamping all done. The rest of it is colouring. That is all we're going to stamp today. There's no sentiment going on this card. I just wanted it to be about the colouring. And we want to use some new colours as well, so that's even better. And the other thing I am actually going to do is I'm going to punch this out first, because it means I'll know how far to colour to the edge. I know that sounds really bizarre, but it did. It was when I practiced this, I found that I hadn't quite coloured all the way to the edge, and it was just a little bit frustrating. So I'm actually going to cut this image first. This is the 2 inch punch. This is not the one that comes with the bundle. And in a position where I'm happy with it. Okay. That's the 2 inch punch. It just means we can colour right to the edge of this image. So first of all, we're going to pop in some lighter colours for the sky, and I believe this is Balmy Blue. It is. Just wanted to check that for you and make sure that was correct. Now, confession time, this is pretty much dried out, this ink, this Balmy Blue now. I use this a lot to go around the edges of images and things like that, so it's starting to get a little bit dry. So we're just going to pop in some of that just to give it some background colour, and then we're going to go over the rest of it with our darker marker, but we'll just give that a moment to dry first. And then we're going to use Lemon Lolly, which is one of our new colours, and again we're just going to drop in some colour using the light marker first and pop that in. Very nice light yellow there. Okay, so we can pop in our dark Balmy Blue now, and I'm just going to use the lines from the artwork just to guide where I'm going to pop this in, just to add sort of those that sort of dimension. Not necessarily going right over them, I'm not being dead accurate about it, I'm just emulating those and following them around. Okay, if you want to go over it again you can, just put some of the, because the colours will layer up and intensify the more layers you put onto it. Okay, and now we can just add in a little bit of shade with our Lemon Lolly. So just pop in a little bit in this area that's lower down there, and we'll just blend that line in a little bit like so. And once that dries, that line's going to fade away. Okay, so that's what we've got so far. Probably a bit far away, aren't you? Okay, right, so the sea, we're actually going to use two new colours. Excuse me. Bless me. We've got Lost Lagoon and Pretty Peacock. Okay, so Lost Lagoon, first of all, so I'm using sort of the crest here and this bit at the front, so that the darker colour can go in this bit that's sort of under the wave, if you like. Okay, so so again we'll start with the light colour and just drop that in. Oops, first, like so. I'm going to be careful around this edge where the foam is, and drop that in. And we can do the same with our Pretty Peacock element as well. We can pop in our light colour, which isn't so light, it's quite a dark moody colour, Pretty Peacock. It's beautiful. I just want this base layer to go in. Okay, then we can start adding on our darker elements, just again following that line art. Across the top there and over some of the other elements like that. So we don't want to overwork it, just add in those darker lines and just let them sort of dry in to each other really nice and simply. And we're going to do the same with the Pretty Peacock. The newer markers, those lids are going to be kind of tight, so but once you start using them they'll loosen up. Just make sure that they're on securely when you've finished, otherwise they are going to dry out. They are alcohol based, so they will just dry out in the air if you leave them without their lids on. Okay, so that's all the colouring that we're going to do on that. I'm just going to see if I can strengthen that edge just a little bit with this almost dry marker. Okay, and that is our sort of focal element all done there. Okay, I did drop in a little bit of colour on the sea foam on the original, but we'll just leave that as it is. And instead, I think I might just drop in a bit of Stella instead, just to make it sort of glistening, or maybe just a little bit on these. Just to add a bit of something. Okay, so that is going to now mount onto two circles. I've already die cut this circle, but we're going to use the 2 3/8 of an inch punch to punch out. Oops, that's why that piece was so large, because I was going to punch out from there, but I've got another piece of scrap there of basic white. So the die cut, the 2 3/8 circle, and then we've got the 2-inch circle on there. Okay, so this can just be layered up. Like so. And then this one, whilst it's white, you can colour the edge with a marker just to emphasise elements of that. So I opted to use the balmy blue. So I'm going to bring in the dark marker and my scrap pad again, and I'm just going to go round the edge of that, because only that bit's going to show. And that means you're conserving a whole heap of cardstock, so you don't have to cut into a fresh piece, or maybe you haven't got any balmy blue cardstock that's the right size or whatever. So this gives you an option to be able to use coloured cardstock. Differently. Okay, now I went on the back because it just helps you with the intensity of the colour and everything, but we don't need to cover the whole thing because it's just going to be covered by that central image anyway. So you're only using a little bit of your ink in your pens, and you're saving cutting into another piece of cardstock if you didn't have any. So that's our centrepiece all done and ready to go. Okay, and then we can move on to colouring the seashells, which I've done directly onto a card front, which isn't my usual technique. I usually avoid stamping straight onto my card layers and just bung stuff on just in case it goes wrong, but we're taking the plunge with this one. So loads of different colours that we're going to use with this one. So I've picked out sort of corals and oranges and sort of those sort of tan sort of colours for like the seashells. So the starfish themselves, so I actually pulled out, what did I pull out? I think this is Calypso Coral, yeah it is. And I've got pumpkin pie. So again, we've got light and dark markers there that we can use. So this larger starfish we're going to do in the coral. So again, laying down that base colour that's lighter. Okay, and then just adding the detail in with the dark marker. And I'm not looking for super precise colouring in on this. Okay. So again, just wriggle the the pen top until it loosens up. And I'm just speckling on the darker colour using that artwork there. Okay, that's all we need to do with that, and it's giving you this really nice starfish colour. Then the smaller ones I'm going to do with the pumpkin pie. So again, we'll go with the lighter pen first, and just adding that sort of little cross element there that's sort of defining the arms on that starfish. Might want to go over it a couple of times. Some markers, the differentiation between the light and the dark isn't as intense, certainly when you first apply the ink, so sometimes just give it a little bit of time to dry. That can make a difference. The conch sort of shell thing there, I'm going to use some of these markers, which are the sort of skin tone markers, if you like, but they, on the pens themselves, I think in the catalogues they say dark, medium dark, things like that, but when you actually get them they have like an SU number. So this one's SU 1000, which I believe is the lightest one, and then this one's SU 900, and then they go 800, 700. Okay, so I think SU 1000 is going to be the lightest colour, and it's quite pink. I would say it's almost it's not dissimilar, it's not the same, but not dissimilar to Petal Pink. I'm also going to do the inside of that shell there, and I'm going to do this one here. Okay, and then we've got the 900, just to add a little bit of shade to that. It's very subtle, but again, once it dries, that's going to look fab. I'm just going to go around the edge on this one and add some of the base colour in this colour, the edge and a base colour, just sort of mixing and matching it all around. And then we want to add something to this one as well. Then the final set I've got is the bronze and ivory pair. Okay, so our ivory one, I'm gonna add a little bit to this shell here, and it's going to be the base of these ones. And then we'll go over with the bronze, again just picking out some of the lines, not overthinking it, just go around there. And I'm not going to go back and blend them out or anything like that. So shells have these quite marked striations on them, so I just want to keep that. And that is it. Whole collection of sort of seasidey colours. I hope those colours come across okay. They look a bit dull through my viewfinder, but they look really, really nice on the card itself. And I decided not to add anything to the background and try and enhance it in any way. I just wanted it to be left as it was. Okay, so super easy now just to get this all layered up. Oh, that's just reminded me, when you're colouring with blends, it does soak through, so you don't want to be colouring straight onto a card front with blends, because you will be able to see it on the inside unless you're planning on putting a panel on the inside to cover it up. So I would always recommend colouring it on a panel and then mounting it up afterwards. This is just going to go on with some dimensionals, so these off-cutty bits are going to be perfect for that. Just to give it some, I always think just having them raised up on raised up layer adds a little bit of luxury without having to spend a whole heap of money or chuck loads of products on it. So it's up to you now how high you want to put this, because obviously you can cover up some of those shells or not. So if we go a little higher on this one, we can see some coming around the bottom as well. I think that's sort of straight. I'm trying to make sure it's equidistant on the left and right as well. Sometimes that's hard to do when you've got a busy sort of background. And then the final finishing touch is going to be iridescent pearls. Okay, so these have got a really nice, in fact they'll be better outside the packet, won't it? Sort of, well, iridescent sheen to them. You can, whether it's catching well enough in the camera light, but they are really, really pretty. And we'll just pop, is it just the 2 sizes? Yeah, it is. You know, the sort of golden trio of embellishments just to finish that off. And just to add a little bit of something. Okay, so really nice, clean sort of look to these cards, just using Stampin' Blends and the new Circle Sayings stamp set. Okay, I've seen some really cute cards with the cupcake as well. Okay, so, and then we've got some standalone sentiments as well. Very, very nice. So I've enjoyed doing that and a little bit of colouring. Haven't done any proper colouring on video for a little while. So there you go. Of course, all the links are in the description to the products that I've used today. So do check those out and have a moochie around in the online store, because there are loads of new products out. So you know, the annual catalogue launched at the beginning of the month, and there's a whole heap of fresh new stuff on its way. So I've got another order coming in as well, which means I'll have even more to play with and show you as well. Thanks again everybody, stay safe, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.